Hey guys, it's Javi here, and today we're going to be talking about the Goodyear housing market. We're going to be looking all into the data, actives, under contracts, pending, solds, just get a really good feeling of what the data is, because right now the vibe I'm getting from a lot of people is that there's an ice age right now. The market is just completely frozen, and the market's really just about to burst and crash. That's all. Every time something is just weird, people think it's about to crash. So let's look at the data. Let's figure it out for ourselves. And of course, if you have any suggestions of any future cities you want me to cover, go ahead and leave a comment below with what city or zip code you want me to cover next. Let's start off by looking over what you would be looking at if you and I were like on a Zoom call and we were pulling up the MLS. So right now, if I pull up everything that's for sale, there's approximately 607 houses for sale. First off, what I like seeing is in the low to mid 300s, there are plenty of options. I remember back then you would need to be at least in the 400s to find something decent. So it's slowly starting to heal and there are a little more affordable options happening. Out of these 607, if we just focus on what's under contract and pending, you'll see that there's actually 207. And if we focus on just the last 30 days of closings, there has been 196. So there's definitely a little bit of imbalance right now. I know there's like rules to follow when it comes to these things, but someone who's done this for over 10 years here in Phoenix, I like personally when it's closer to like a 1 or 2 month, right? Where there's some demand or things aren't crazy. You know, back in the COVID days, that was like complete opposite, right? There was 50 houses for sale and 100 solds. So it's just a little bit too loose right now, and you can definitely feel it. A lot of these houses here, if we look at like what they sold for, we can see here this line is the original list price, and here's what they actually sold for. There's a lot of differences here. This one sold listed for $420, sold for $375. This one listed for $403, sold for $377, and on top of that, the seller gave the buyer $25,000 of concessions. So although there are a few buyers out there, it seems like they're getting a better deal overall. Now, I'm just noticing I look like a ghost right now because I decided to wear yellow behind my green screen. So heads up, don't wear yellow when you have a green screen. So let's look at the general data now. So if we're looking at active listings, which is always like a good sense of just overall health, we're going to see that we're definitely higher than usual. If we go back the last 5 years, we haven't even been close to that. And even in 2022, when prices started surging high, we were still way off. So there's a lot more listings than there has been for a very long time. If we go back and we look at the listings under contract, we're going to see that it's not that alarming. We were actually pretty high as it terms to 2024 and 2023, but we're about where we were in 2024. So the amount of buyers really isn't the issue. If I were to really identify an issue, it's the amount of sellers that we have. The amount of buyers really doesn't look that different than we have been. As a matter of fact, if we go back in 2022 and 2021, those are the 2 years where COVID happened and there's a lot of buyers buying. We can see there was a points where there's definitely been a lot more. And 2022 is that when things started really dropping in price, we can see we're pretty much in line where 2022 was. So you would think with the huge amount of listings and the same amount of listings under contract, you would start seeing some massive price reductions, right? But the data isn't really showing that, at least yet. If we just focus at houses under 3,000 square feet, single family residence in the Goodyear area, we're just kind of ping-ponging up and down, up and down, up and down. There's been no consistent drop or increase in monthly median sales price in the Goodyear, Arizona area. If we look at average sales price, let's see what the story says there. Yeah, same story here. I mean, I guess you can say that we're starting to drop here, but it's just ping-ponging up and down, up and down, up and down. So if we go back to these sales here, yeah, you'll see some that are really like interesting, but then you'll see others like this one that sold for list price, right? Or this one that sold for list price. This one sold for list price. So overall, it seems to be averaging itself out where there's like no huge alarm as of yet. And this is just looking at closed listings. So in other words, how many days it took for that house to sell. We can see our average right now is about as high as it was in Q1 of 2023, but we're not like record highs or anything. We're just about the same. So if I had to just put my finger on this and give you a good analysis, I think we have way too many listings, but the problem is we have the wrong listings. What we have are stubborn sellers that don't have to sell, right? They're just putting their house on the market and they're seeing what happens. And the people that do really have to sell are giving a price reduction or are just pricing really cheap so that way it sells at list price and doesn't show an overall drop. So overall, when talking about is it a good or is it a bad time to buy, first of all, I hate the question. The reason I hate the question is because you shouldn't time the market. You should buy when you feel financially prepared, mentally ready, and you have like a high sense of urgency. But if you were to ask me whether it's a good or bad time to buy in Goodyear, I would say now more than ever, you need to be aware of overpriced listings. Let's say there is a range that you have a house for sale, right? And the actual house that you look at comparables, you look at houses, and you need to actually price this house here. In this market, if you actually price it here, it still won't sell. So an overpriced listing in this market that we're in is being priced correctly. God forbid if you're actually overpriced, then you're just living in la la land. But if you actually price your listing correctly, you're considered overpriced. A well-priced listing right now is giving some kind of benefit to the buyer, which means inherently you're going to be off the bat 5 to 10% cheaper than where you need to be, or you're giving some kind of massive incentive. We really can look at new builders, because if you think of new builders, essentially what they're doing is they're pre-packaging a negotiation for you. The builder, the lender, everyone gets together. So they say, well, we're going to give these buyers 4%. We're going to give them all these closing costs to buy our houses because we need these houses sold, and they're selling them. So if looking at them pre-negotiating these deals, we have to have the same approach with these sellers, which means it's priced accurately or above. It needs to be brought even lower. And on top of that, there needs to be more additional incentives. So whether is it a good or bad time to buy? Well, if you're looking at the house not as an investment, but as a way to get the house for a cheaper monthly payment, it seems like right now you're probably going to get a good situation where you're going to get a seller who's going to reduce their price heavily and give you a lot of closing costs. And guess what? If they don't want to, well, it's you can just go find another one, because there's so many freaking listings right now that you kind of have the power. So I think you have two options. You either look at new construction, which make up approximately 60 of the 191. And these are just the ones that are reported. I bet you there's a lot more that aren't reported with the MLS. So, you go new construction, you get a pre-negotiated deal where you get that interest rate at 3.99, hopefully get some help with closing costs. But the problem is you won't be able to get a reduction on that price because they're pretty firm on that. Or you can take that same strategy and go attack the resale market, but you run the risk of maybe running into some sellers that aren't really understanding it. So you have to go in aggressively. You have to get the house cheaper. You have to get a lot of closing costs. There's a way you can do it where you can get closing costs and get them paid by the seller so you can buy your rate down, but it's just a lot of money. And I'm happy to share with you that once we schedule a meeting one-on-one, and we can go over the options you have. So if you guys are looking in the Goodyear area, I'm actually really close to you. So I'd love to be the one to help you. All my information is down below. Please let me know what city and area you want me to focus on in the Phoenix, Arizona area next. Are we going to look at the new builds in Maricopa? Are we going to look at Glendale? Are we going to look in Gilbert, Chandler? Whatever it is, send me a message or a comment below. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.